Good, good. Thank you. I'm very happy it's Friday. It's been a very busy week, a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
likewise.
Good, good, good. Are you doing well?
Yes, I'm doing very well. Thank you. Thank
Awesome.
you. Yes, I'm very happy to have you here
Thank you.
co-creating
I'm
with
happy
me.
to be here. Yeah. Yeah, this is fun. I've been thinking about this and wondering what the conversation will be and all that good stuff.
Yes, yes.
Excellent.
It will be what it has to be, no? In the now. Now, whatever comes up, we will embrace and we will flow with it, no?
Yeah,
From the heart, which is so beautiful,
perfect.
nurturing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Nice. Okay, I can do that.
I know you can. Now
Nice.
you've been busy these days then. You've been what working on your stuff, on the supporting people, helping people, writing.
Yeah, yeah, doing all that and
Mm-hmm.
doing a lot of things to to really like make my business into a nice functioning working business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that.
Um, yeah, and it's
Takes a lot, no?
it does. It's a lot of stuff, like if I mean, I'm sure I would have done it anyway, but sometimes I think, if somebody told me 15 years ago, like what this would involve, I'm not sure if I would have said yes. I mean, I'm sure I would have really, if
Yeah.
we get down to it, but I have these moments of just like, really, that too?
Yes, I remember when I had the social enterprise, and it was one thing is really to create what you love, and
Yep.
and the other is the selling part and all everything that comes with it, which at the end it's anyhow you know, and you're creating what you love around that. But there are certain things, yeah, steps that, well, they have to be done so that you can continue, no?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's we get the whole package when we say yes.
Yeah. Yes. But it's
Yeah.
beautiful. In your case, you're support. Well, for me, you're a true leader. And when we are true leaders, we are self leaders. And at the same time, we are through our experience, we are empowering others, no, and supporting others for them not to have it so difficult as we had it, no, and really to help them out with what we well, yes, what we had difficulties with,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. I appreciate you saying that. Like, I will often tell two stories about that. One is, something around business of like, I made this mistake or this mistake or this mistake because I've made plenty.
yeah.
Um, but a lot of times the one I will speak about first, is I'll say, back in my earlier life, for about maybe a decade and a half, I did a lot of drugs and partied a
Mm.
lot. And really got myself to a very low place and eventually turned that around and got myself back on track and discovered meditation and a great many things. And then after many, many years, built a sustainable business. And so I say to people, if I could do that, right, like you could do it with one arm tied behind your back.
Yes, yes. Oh, that's powerful. Yes, and inspiring. I think everyone can do it when they want, no? When they have the willingness, when they have seen a glimpse of what they can do, or a glimpse of what they are, that gives
Yes.
them force to get out of anything, just to make something that it's really comes from the heart, no? Because this is the limitless potential we have within.
Yeah, that's a really good way to say that. And yeah, I was very fortunate because when I started my entrepreneurial journey, I was working for an NGO
Mm-hmm.
and doing a very good job there. And the executive director, her husband, was kept looking like kind of paying attention to me. And then at some point, he went to take his business online And he said to me, do you want to help me launch this business? Do you want to be my director
Mm-hmm.
of marketing and sales?
Wow.
And I said, wow, I'd love to be your director of marketing and sales. Is it okay that I don't have background at all in marketing or sales? And, and he said, yes, come figure it out.
Ah, wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. He saw your
yeah,
potential, eh?
yeah,
Your
yeah.
power of being, no, your true.
Yeah, and I think that is because I don't think that happens for everyone. Like some people figure out like I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to the business or my social enterprise or whatever it is. And I had no idea that I was going to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I had sort of a vision, sort of not. And then he was like, "Hey, what about this?" And I was like, "Okay." Right? Not really knowing anything, not just about the sales and marketing,
Mm-hmm.
but I had no idea what was in store. But just there were things that were really appealing, and if it comes down to one word for me, it was just around freedom,
Yeah.
or the possibility of freedom in a way that I probably wouldn't ever have had, in the way I could see at that point, in any kind of job, like any kind of working for a company.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take this chance. And yeah, it was also, I think it was a little bit helpful for me. And I say this with love for myself,
Yeah.
that I was kind of young and dumb in a way too. I don't know. Okay, sure. Let's do it.
Well, it's also taking a jump of faith, no?
Yes.
Just okay, whatever comes, I'll do that. And plus because you had someone that saw something in you. And that also makes you say, okay, yes, I go because you saw that he saw something in you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for saying that too, because it's, of course, helps me understand
Yeah.
my own experience more deeply. But then I think back to like, mentors and coaches and leaders, like the good ones,
Mm-hmm.
right? That they do see these things in people that sometimes people can't see them for
Mm-hmm.
themselves, or people see it, but then they're distracted by the other things,
Mm-hmm.
and the coach or the leader or the mentor is like, hey, like, look here, right? Pay attention to here. Okay. um, yeah. And I think that, that what I witness is there's still so many leaders who, don't do that enough
Mm-hmm.
and still think they need to control,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or, direct and control. And
Yeah.
sometimes absolutely that needs to be done, right? Because that's the role, that can be the role of the leader, with awareness, with consciousness, right? Because ultimately the responsibility rests with that person. So sometimes they have to go, no, this is how we do this, right? Hey,
Yeah.
you have to do this, right? That's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, I hope that leader saying that, is what, like 5% of the time, 3% of the time,
Mm-hmm.
maybe,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the rest of the time that they're really just encouraging people to lead themselves
Yes.
and collaborate.
Yes. Yes, that's for me true leadership. At the end, it's really respecting, valuing, loving the other person and make them grow, no? And if they grow, you grow because you're nurturing, they're nurturing you. And you're learning, you become the student also when you teach someone else, no, something, or when you show them what you see in them, that this potential that they haven't seen, but and you know they can do it. And
Yeah,
it's beautiful to be able to guide them towards something that then they themselves discover, no, uncover from themselves and say, wow, oh, I did it well. Yeah, 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 you did it well because you know how to do that.
yeah, yeah. It's really amazing, and something that you said a little bit back, that we get to learn when we teach.
Mm-hmm.
I see that again and again. And just yesterday, I have a book writing mastermind, and I was talking to my students, my
Mm-hmm.
authors, and was saying how just in the previous mastermind, I taught or retaught several productivity methods. And I realized after I taught them, I was like, wow, I really needed to be reminded of all those things
Mhm.
because I'm making some significant shifts in my business for how the business operates and also for how my work week is. Like I'm moving toward working less work days,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So it's like, how do I build the structure, hire the right help, and how do I actually construct my time to be really, really optimized? And it's like, wow, I need to be reminded of these tools so I can do this. And the other part of this for me is, I mean, for many of us, right, is the self-care aspect.
Yeah.
I've been a meditator for many, many years,
Mm.
but I'm not always consistent.
Yeah. Neither.
You know, yeah, I like to exercise, but I'm not always consistent.
Yeah.
So it was a really good reminder of, okay, like, set myself up so I could,
Mhm.
on my
Mhm.
refrigerator, okay, I did it, I did it, I did it, I did
Mhm.
it, check, 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 and just try to keep all of those checks going. And it's been pretty good so far.
Mm, happy for that. Happy for
Thank you.
that. It's always good to see that what you're doing, no, from the heart, but for yourself, it's also giving you results that are positive and with the intention, no, that you had.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I know that everything happens in the right time. Like I ultimately understand that. But I have those moments of like, wow, if I understood these things 20 years ago, you know, um, and it's okay. It's not, I don't say that from a place of regret.
Mm-hmm.
It's just interesting how for many, many of us, the really, really deep applicable wisdom, everyday wisdom comes a little bit later.
Yes, yes. And I think yes, but I think it also has to do with where we were because sometimes I see myself like a spiral. We're in the spiral. We have been through something and we learned something from that. We went already through that and then we come again through it, but we see it differently and we approach it differently and we respond to it differently, that then it can happen.
Yeah, exactly,
But we were
exactly.
there already, no, with a
Yeah,
different mindset, with a different, well, a different time, no, a different being, no.
right.
So
Yeah, different being, exactly right.
yes,
It's right, never the same river, right?
no, every moment we change.
Yeah.
But yes, it's this spiral. I was calling it once the spiral of positive impact.
Ooh,
It's a spiral that we just go through it, and in certain moments, well, we just pass by it, but nothing was created from it, and only our understanding and learning, no, and growth from it. That later on, when we pass again through it, we will take into account everything that we have learned already the first time, the second or the third time. Because we fail, it's normal, and failing, it's learning, it's growing, so it's no problem. But yes, but you are there, and this time you say, okay, now, now. And actually, when you are there, you don't even know you already been there. It's when you went through it that you are saying, I've been there many times, I've learned this, and this time I've seen the how. I'm realizing, and I'm seeing that it's happening.
yeah. It's sometimes when that happens, I go, thank goodness.
Finally, this
Right.
time, no? This time.
Exactly.
Yes, yes. But it's something that also um, it happens. It's not for us to plan, because it won't happen when we plan it, because we are putting our mind in it. And as we put our mind in it, it comes with what our past, and it doesn't allow the new, the innovation, or the new us to flow in. And then it's going to happen the third and the fourth time, because your mind has been there limiting, no, the potential.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a powerful teaching, understanding, realization. And yeah, I can still struggle with it.
Mhm.
How do I remind myself to step back
Yeah.
and just let it be? And something that I discovered from my own practice of meditation and actually doing meditation retreats.
Hmm.
So the Buddha was very smart,
Hmm. Yes.
among many wonderful words, very perceptive, all these things. But
Mhm.
one thing that he taught that I really experienced in meditation, when I knew to understand, not to look for it, but to kind of let it reveal itself,
Mhm.
was just that in the universe, things just are happening, period. Right? We have
Mhm.
really no control.
No.
I mean, arguably, we have a little control of our, perception and response to it, a
Mhm.
little bit, but not much. And the rest of it is just like it's all happening. And what is it? Trillions of arisings of consciousness or whatever you want to call, however you want to describe a second,
A second, yes.
right? And
Yes.
and and the thing so that was mind blowing to me. The other thing that was mind blowing to me, and my meditation teacher, my spiritual teacher, talked about this. He said none of it is personal, right? It's
Mhm.
just happening,
Yes. True.
and even the karma, right? The stuff that we've perhaps planted a seed that
Mhm.
could come back and manifest in our experience, that's not even personal,
Mm.
right? Like, sure, we can attract to it, like we can cultivate, the causes and conditions, as they say, for it, but none of it is personal. And on the one hand, that's incredibly empowering.
Yeah.
Yeah, every once in a while, it's just like, well, what does that even mean?
Yeah. When you're in it, no?
Right.
Yes.
But then I take a step back and I'm like, it's not personal.
Mm.
And so, the world is not personal, right? The climate, the weather, the environment,
Yeah.
the dog barking,
Nothing. Yeah.
that's silly, that I don't want to say, I want to be careful with how I say this, but that person who's not driving so well right now.
Not personal.
Not personal, right? And of course, we pay attention, we operate with care and awareness. And what a liberating thing to recognize it's not personal.
Yes.
And there's times when I feel, I'll have a bit of it's almost like loneliness for just a
Mm-hmm.
second. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not personal, it's just me in this whole universe. And I'm like, well, on the one hand, sure. On the other hand, I'm connected to every one and everything, period.
Yes.
Like you take one little thing out of the equation and it affects every other thing. And
Yes.
you literally can't take anything out of the equation.
Mm. No. 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 It makes me think. It makes me see. These days, I've been a little bit in the turmoil of certain things, no, at work, and I make it makes me see. I've been getting out of it, no, placing myself out of it to really understand that it's happening for me to see things, no, and for me to see reality, and for me to take action. In this case, to respond in certain point in time to something where I have to move on. At some point in time, I have to move on, no? And everything is happening. It's like, okay, Jeannette, you see it? Yes, I see it. You see it? Yes, I see it. But from the outside, no, getting out of it, I say, how beautiful, how everything is coordinating, no, to 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 ease a response that in certain point in time has to come.
Yeah. That's a really, really good way to say that. I appreciate that very much. Someone said to me the other day, or reminded me, right, of that perspective. Oh, it's not happening to me, it's happening for me.
Yes, that's that.
And
Yes, it's
yeah,
beautiful.
and
That's so beautiful.
it is. And I know sometimes I can step right into that.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some times where it
Mm.
takes a minute, right? Where something is really challenging,
Yeah.
frustrating,
Yes.
anger provoking, many, many things. But when I get to that point and just acknowledge that, even if I don't know, even if I never figure out exactly why
Mm-hmm.
this, right? Just that, hey, just that little tiny shift in perspective.
Mm-hmm. It makes a
Right?
lot.
Yeah,
Makes
and
a
it's
lot.
a little bit, yeah, a little bit softer, a little more spacious, and hey, it's not personal.
Mm-hmm. No, that's not
Again,
personal. Yes. Yes, and the acknowledgement. That's the other thing that we learn, no? We are learning to be the observers. And it's beautiful to see yourself acknowledging how you are feeling in a certain situation and telling to yourself, okay, don't respond this way. Even if you're frustrated and you have anger, don't respond this way because it will be worse and it's happening and it's okay. Stay calm. And all those things happen while you are there being triggered, no, and frustrated that having someone in front of you that just doesn't align to you what you are thinking. It doesn't mean. So it's really saying, okay, no, observe. You are the observer. Okay, respond calmly, take it in. It will flow. This is happening for you. Go ahead. No.
yeah, yeah. I forget where I heard this the first time, but the idea of, it's a spiritual practice, not a spiritual perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's also a very good one. Yes. It's
Yeah,
very nice, yes, because our mind plays, our ego, persona plays a lot with us, and then is so judgmental towards how we reacted, how no, and at the end, it's just acknowledging how you did it, and for next time, well, your intention is not to do it, but you don't know until one day you don't do it anymore, and you say, "Oh, wow, nice, well done," no?
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, freedom,
Yeah,
right?
freedom. Freedom,
Yeah,
yes. Beautiful freedom. Yes. And
right.
how when you're doing you support writers or people
People.
or
Mhm.
true leaders to write books, no?
Yep, yep, yeah. So, purpose-driven, mission-driven kind of
Mm-hmm.
people, even if
Mm-hmm.
they usually don't call themselves that, but that's an
Mm-hmm.
easy for me to think about them. And yeah, some of them think of themselves as writers, a lot of them don't,
Mm-hmm.
but they really understand that it's important for them to write a book. Some to help their business, or some of the reasons, I should say,
Yeah.
are to help the business. Some of the reasons are to tell their story.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the reasons are to make a bigger impact with
Mm-hmm.
how they're helping people in the world. And for a lot of people, it's really interesting that they are experts in whatever they're experts in, and they've been carrying so much wisdom and knowledge and experience around, in their heads and their hearts for so many years. And then they have this opportunity finally to get it out
Mm-hmm.
onto paper. And it's almost like they suddenly have a curriculum
Mm-hmm.
and go, oh my goodness, this is what I teach, this is what I share.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I really like about, I mean, I like so many things about
Yeah.
this, but but one of the things I love, and I love this about my own books, is I often will think, well, how did I talk about that topic? Like, I know, let me look in my own book. That's what I said,
Uh-huh.
right? So I
Yes,
don't keep
that's
reinventing these
no.
things. I mean, there's nothing wrong with optimizing, right? We can
Mm-hmm.
very often make things a little bit better, but I think I know in when I was first started in business, because I was figuring things out, I had to kind of keep reinventing. Like I wasn't quite at the point of like, okay, I know this works, so I know I can keep using it. And when I broke through that with kind of the escape velocity, right? It's like, okay, now I can do this much more easily and strategically. And yeah, it's fun. So I help folks write the books. I do something that I haven't seen other book coaches doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Actually, two things. One is guaranteeing through the process that the book is going to work.
Mm-hmm.
right? So before you make the big commitment, like make sure it's going to work.
Yes, yes,
Because otherwise it's heartbreaking and big investment of time and energy and
yeah.
money and all those things. And number two is to be able to get clients and strategic partners before the book is finished, before it's published, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why
Mm-hmm.
wait to make an impact is what I
Mm-hmm.
people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I teach my authors how to have conversations with their ideal clients, and then they get the clarity about the book, they get the right language for the book, they know what stories to include. And then with this with this information, they have a really good data set and they can get the book done quickly. And the whole time I'm, helping them write the book. And then I also, it's funny how we talked about the mind and how it can
Mm-hmm.
get in the way before, very much so with the book, as you can
Yes,
imagine.
yes.
So one thing I do is like I give my authors an actual blueprint to follow, right? I mean, it's enough for them to deal with the content and
Mm-hmm.
serving their people. I say to them, I want you to relieve yourself of that burden of what goes where,
That's very
right?
important.
And
Yes, very important.
follow the steps.
No, actually, in a structure, no, with the content, it's you are giving it, you're creating it, and everything. But the structure to have at least how to structure, and it really relieves a lot of effort of creativity. Let's say it allows creativity to flow without blocking it, because the mind is jumping in other things that are not in the writing of the book. No.
Yeah, yeah, very, very, very well said. It's interesting because books are so powerful. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
books
Yes.
are powerful in how they can impact people and change lives and change thinking and change action and ultimately change the world, right? But they're also powerful in how people perceive them, right? So I've met people and I've said something of, oh, I wrote a book about that. Oh my God, you wrote a book? Right?
Mm-hmm.
You must know something, right?
Mm-hmm.
You must be an expert, right? So there's this external perception of what a book means. And then I see very often with people who want to write their books, I'll have a conversation with them and I do a mapping session where we look at like their book and we look at the whole ecosystem of their business and how they want to make an impact. And it's amazing how much noise and misunderstanding most people have about books.
Yes.
Right. And I think like many things in the world these days, right, because there's the internet, there's television, there's radio, and there's a
Yes.
lot of people who don't know what they're talking about, but talk really loudly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So there's all of this input and noise, and then, there's social media and, automatic, what do you call it? Automatic reminders and, hey, you have a text, right? Like all this input.
Yes.
Right. And then somebody comes to me and they're like, I want to write a book. I have no idea. And, just we unpack it. And it turns out to be actually pretty straightforward. It doesn't mean it's always easy, right? Like, of course, there's work. And it invariably stirs the pot of emotions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Always.
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 Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes I'll say to people, oh, I'm sorry, go
no,
ahead.
no, no, no. You say people?
Thank you, thank you.
No, no.
Sometimes I'll remind people. I don't always say this at the beginning of the process because I don't want to scare them away. But we get into it, and then I'll say, this is actually a deep spiritual transformation that you're going through right now.
Yes.
And they'll go, oh, that's why.
Yes. That's what I was going to say. At the end, for me, writing a book is really putting all of me into it, no, and well, in the type of books, no, or that I create or want to create. So it's really about organizing things I speak of, or but they come from my insights, no, and for what I do. So in reality, it's really a spiritual transformation because you acknowledge many things that have come through you, that also you read them and you say, I did write this, you know. So there's a lot of again, as before, as I'm writing, I become the student of my writings also. And
Right.
then the other thing that I wanted to tell you is that in the way you're explaining it, you're also, in reality, you're supporting someone in creating a baseline for their future, for the creations that to be then also used in their business. And then what
Yeah.
they, because at the end, it's, you're saying people that are purpose driven. So if you're purpose driven, in reality, that's what you want to do. That's what you want to create in the world. That's the change you want to make. No. So if you are writing a book and it has to do with your purpose, you're also supporting them in creating a baseline to make it happen, which I see it's very powerful and beautiful of you.
Thank
Yes.
you. I appreciate you saying that's a really good way to describe it. And there's this funny other aspect that I want to share to kind of balance what you're sharing, excuse me, because very often, as you know, right, the truth is often expressed in a contradiction,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yes, this, but this at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and I see this a lot with books, right? Because books are profound and they're impactful and people care deeply about it and it's expression of who they are and it's an expression of their purpose. And like you said, a baseline for the business and the impact they want to make. And sometimes when I'm working with my authors, like they're all in that space and in that head
Yeah.
perspective and you know, da 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 da, and then all of a sudden I'll say, hey,
Mhm.
it's just a book.
Yeah. Bring them down. True.
It's just a book and it's not going to be perfect ever,
Ever.
right? Perfection is a dangerous thing to try to get toward that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And of course, we want to do excellent, right? But excellent is not going to be perfect. And excellent will be so much more effective when you let it go and let it get out the door and help people.
Yes. Yes. Effective and impactful. Yes.
Wow.
Amazing. I love that. Makes me think of creating another book.
Uh-oh.
And I know about what, because it's what I always talk about. But yes, I just have to have additional time. But yes, for now. But it's there in my list.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I've written four so far.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The first three I wrote by myself. The fourth I wrote with somebody, but I pretty much wrote it with their input.
Yeah.
And then I know what the fifth and sixth books are going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
One of them is around business, and it's very clear. Like I've even done interviews for it already, and it's been bubbling away. But the other book, and I don't know if it'll be number five or number six. We'll see
Mm-hmm.
what
Mm-hmm.
happens. But that book is the book that I've wanted to write since I was 12 years
Mm-hmm.
old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's the book.
yes, that is the book. Yeah, and it's funny because just as you're saying that, I'm realizing why it's taken the amount of time it's taken.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was 12 years old, I started writing. I started keeping a journal because of some magnificent teacher who said, you have to keep a journal. It's like, okay. So I started writing. And somehow when I was 12, I figured out I want to write a novel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how, where that came from, but it was there. And as I've been, reading and writing and I worked on magazines for about eight
Mm-hmm.
years to live in New York. So all of this, I've been writing and publishing stuff literally since I was 12 years old, right? And always in there was the novel, the novel, the novel. I'm going to write a novel. And sometimes I would look at people's novels. I was like good novels, and I would be like, how can I possibly even do, a little bit of that? Like, this is so good. And I'm a good writer. Like, I know I'm a good writer, but I look at people's writing that I love that I think is transcendent, and I go, how is that even possible? Like, how can I get an idea like that? Right? And then some years of that, and I finally came to the recognition of, oh, I'm not good at making things up,
Mm-hmm.
right? Some
Mm.
novelists can create
Yeah.
characters and stories and situations. I was like, I can't really do that. I really struggle with that. And then I took another step back and I was like, wait a minute. I have lived an incredibly wacky life in a great
Mm-hmm.
many respects. Like almost died 4 times in India in 72
Wow.
hours, for
Wow.
example,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
For example. Okay.
Right. So just I was like, wow, I can just capture all my stories and
Mm-hmm.
then, you know, make it third person. So don't talk about me per se,
Mm-hmm.
like myself into a character, really find what is the theme of all this
Mm-hmm.
craziness. And the reason why it took several decades to come to this point was, I needed all the material.
Yes, you didn't have it before. You had to go through it. Huh?
Yeah. So and the last part of that recognition was like, thank God I lived through all that stuff.
Mhm.
And a couple of times, thank God I didn't go to jail a few of those times. Like in India, for example. And
Mhm.
I might still be there. Um, yeah, so I'm very, very excited for that novel.
I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, yeah. And I read voraciously. I read a lot of fiction. I read more than 100 books of fiction a year.
On
Yeah.
fiction. Oh, I read a lot
Yeah.
of books, but
Yeah. And I read some business books and I have read a lot of, but I just really like I love fiction and it's just it's always training for the novel.
yeah,
Right? It's
yeah,
like,
you're
oh,
taking
they
in, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I read on my phone.
Uh-huh.
So like screenshot.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
I have
inside your mind, you say.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's so funny. In my iCloud, I have like 3 years of screenshots about writing. Some of
Wow.
it is around the craft, some is around examples, some of it is just like I see something and I'm like, I never would have thought to explain that like that.
Mm.
I have to use that or I have to use something close to that.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Um, yeah, so my subconscious has been going buck wild for years.
Yeah, yeah, you've been preparing for it, so it will be one like you won't see it like that because you have written it, will have written it, but other ones will also see it like, wow, that's a novel.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'm very, very excited. I'm more excited talking about it now, especially, right? Because this,
I'm so happy.
you
Thank you.
yeah, and just how you ask questions and how you listen and how you reflect, opens up
Yeah.
space for me, and I'm sure for other people you talk to as well. So just I
Mm.
thank you very much. It's
No,
really
thank
cool.
you. It's we go back to the front from the beginning. It's because I see it in you.
Yep.
You know, I see, I love, I call it the power of being, which is this freedom to be who you are and create what you love that I see in people, no? And it's this connection heart to heart that is, well, so expansive, no? And when I talk heart to heart and I see you and we're so open-hearted, wholehearted,
Mhm.
I see certain things, in people, and I love them, and it's so I go back and what we were saying before of guiding, no, and I'm telling you, I see it in you, and it's not that I see it, I feel it because I
Right.
have it here in the solar heart solar plexus. It's something that is very it pounds, and I don't know, it's an energy there that's and when there are certain things we talk and I recognize in you, then it gets stronger.
Hmm.
And it's a connection. I don't know what it is. I don't know how
Yeah.
to explain it, but
But
anyhow, it's this power of
but
being.
yeah, but you just explained it really well, even if you don't know how.
Thank you. No, no, yes, I call it power of being, but well, it's
Yeah.
short. Those words are short in all the energy that comes through what I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. And it's interesting because we think back to the beginning of this
Mm-hmm.
conversation, right? It's not here,
No, not in the
right?
mind.
Yeah.
Never, because the mind is limiting. If we are in our heads, we number one, we cannot express this who we are, no? We cannot connect, we cannot recognize the other person, and we cannot co-create something that goes beyond ourselves.
Wow. Well said.
No.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Very, very,
thank you
very.
so much, Ben.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I hope more and more people figure this out very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yes, me too. Me too. And we will be here to support them, guide them, and
Yep.
yeah, help them out with what we can, no, with who we are. And at the end, everyone takes in what is for them to take in. We are just being ourselves, so
Yep.
for ourselves.
Yeah. Thank you very much for saying that. There's something that I've known mentally for many years,
Mm-hmm.
where it was like I read it or I heard a teacher say it, and then I started thinking in my head, I was like, oh, I think that's happening for me. And then it's just been really in the last maybe 6 months or year, if I think about, but just witnessing when, when I'm in my heart around people,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to do anything
Mm-mm.
anymore.
No, it's so
And
so magical.
yeah, and what a relief, first of all, right? Because if I choose to do something, that's great, but I don't have to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part of it is that very often in not doing anything, so many good things happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, that you wouldn't have even imagined.
Yeah.
Because imagination, if we put ourselves in to imagine something, it's because of what we have in our head of remembrance and so many things, but it's limiting. We don't even imagine what we are able to co-create or what we're able to create from the heart when we flow. Mm.
Yeah, thank you. I don't know if you've noticed, but periodically I'm taking
There
notes.
notes.
Yeah. I'm like, ooh, ooh, ooh.
You're a writer.
Yes, that too.
So yes, so I appreciate so much this conversation,
Me too.
the nurturing, the love, the connection, your heart, and thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to see you in person soon, also.
Yeah, that will be soon. That's really,
Yeah.
really cool. Yeah, it might even be like 4 weeks from today.
Yeah, sometime soon. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful.
No, and thank you so much for everything. Just you're so good at, you know, co-creating conversation
Mhm.
and facilitating the
Thank you.
co-creation. And I'm very grateful to Kevin for this introduction because that's the other
It's a
part of this.
love.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And the good people knowing the good people and saying,
Yes,
hey, you two good people should talk.
yes, yes,
What a gift.
yes. It's such an amazing gift. It's so I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.